Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to just sit down for a few minutes and catch you guys up on how I've been doing postpartum. My little baby boy Isaiah is now about 7 weeks old. If you're new to my channel, you can go ahead and check out my last video that I posted a couple weeks ago about my labor and delivery. And the reason why I'm trying to document my journey is because I've been on a low carb, mostly carnivore diet ever since October of 2018. And so when I first started this diet, being in the breastfeeding and baby rearing years, I had a lot of questions about being on a low carb diet, whether it was safe when I was breastfeeding, whether it was safe to go through a pregnancy eating low carb or eating a carnivore diet. And so because I had such a hard time finding that information, I decided to test it out on myself. I started the carnivore diet when I was 8 months postpartum with my little girl, and I did wonderful on it. It was a really great experience, and which is why I decided to continue doing the carnivore diet during this third pregnancy of mine. And I did it pretty much all the way through the pregnancy. I did have a few keto foods here and there, and you can go back and look on my journey. I've tried to post as much as I can to keep you guys up to date, just so that there's something out there showing you that this type of diet does work, and it really is the best for my body that I have found. So I just have really enjoyed getting to share this with you guys, and I, like I said, wanted to really just fill you in while everything is still fresh in my mind and let you know how the postpartum journey is going. So stay tuned. So the first thing that I had on my list that I wanted to talk about was breastfeeding. How is breastfeeding going? How is my milk supply? It's going really good. So my milk came in a couple days after Isaiah was born, and I wasn't having any problems nursing. He seemed to have a little bit of a hard time figuring out his latch, because I know that it was a little bit sore. My nipples felt a little sore the first couple of days, just because I don't think he was latching properly, but he was definitely eating enough. And he did figure out his latch eventually, like within a few days. And so it was very comfortable being able to feed him. I haven't had any infections, and it's just been going really well. I feel like he cluster feeds more than my first two babies, so he can go long stretches without eating, and then he'll want to eat 2-3 times on top of each other. And so he'll eat on one side, and then I'll burp him, and then, you know, he'll be fine for a little bit, and then he'll want to eat again, and I'll burp him, and then he'll eat again. And so, and then he'll be good for a long stretch, which is nice, and, you know, I don't mind that at all. And I know he's definitely been growing. He had a doctor's appointment a couple weeks ago, and we decided to postpone his appointments for a couple months, just with everything going on in the world right now. And he's doing great. It's just been really crazy to see how quick they grow up again for this third time. I feel like the more kids you have, the faster they go through the baby stage. Because I just remember with my first boy, Zane, he was in the baby stage forever. And now with Isaiah, I can't believe it. Like, he's already out of his newborn clothes. He's almost out of size 1 diapers. And I'm like, how is this happening? It makes me want to cherish every single moment. So like I said, Isaiah is now 7 weeks, and I am 7 weeks postpartum. I went ahead and had my doctor's appointment for the clearance after 6 weeks that, you know, I'm good to go. I'm good to start working out. So I am currently in my 2nd week of working out. Besides that point, I'm just going to dial it back here because I'm going off into other things that I wanted to talk about later on. But we were talking about breastfeeding. So at the beginning, when he was just a newborn, he would eat and then poop, and then eat, and then poop, and then eat, and then poop. And I was almost concerned with how much he was pooping every single time after he ate. I was like, is that normal, or do I just not remember how much, like, newborns poop? It just seemed like every single time after he ate, he would poop. And I guess maybe I don't remember that from Maddie, but I did check it up. I did Google it just to make sure that it was okay that he was pooping so often. You know, normally you have the other side of the problem where they don't poop enough. Not so much so when it's a breastfed baby, because breastfed babies, it's really hard for them to get constipated, but I never had seen a baby poop that much. And so I Googled it, and they said it's actually better if your baby's pooping more often. It means that they're absorbing more of the nutrients and things from your breast milk. As far as his nursing goes, I also noticed that he is a really quick nurser. So my other babies, when they would, you know, come to nurse on me, they would, be breastfeeding for 30 to 40 minutes. Whereas Isaiah, I feel like he's really quick. On the average, he will breastfeed for 5 to 10 minutes and then be good. And that's actually really nice, just because I know that if he's hungry, I can just pop him on a boob real quick and feed him, and then we can go and run our errands or do the things that we need to do around the house, and it's just really a time saver. So I don't know if my milk is just more nutritious and satisfying for him, and that's why he doesn't need to feed as long, but that's something that I have noticed that's been a little bit different versus my other two first pregnancies, when I was eating more of a standard American diet. And I did that, like I said, pretty much until my second child, Madison, was 8 months postpartum, which is when I started dabbling in the low carb keto world, and then I eventually transitioned over to the carnivore diet. So how is Isaiah sleeping? He's doing really well. I've been trying to train him to sleep in his bassinet, because it's hard at that stage. Those little babies love to cuddle. They're used to being right next to mom for 9 months in the belly. And so he's been actually doing really well. He wakes up about 3 times in the night to feed. Usually 2 out of those times I'll be able to put him back in his bassinet, and usually the 3rd time I'll just pull him into bed with me because it's close to morning anyway, and he just snuggles right up to me. I usually don't have issues with co-sleeping. I know everyone has their own opinions on whether or not it's safe to co-sleep with your baby. I can see both point of views, but to me it's really comforting to be able to have my little baby right next to me and to be able to hear them breathing and knowing that they're okay. But the bassinet is also really great, and I feel like I personally sleep better when he is in the bassinet, just because I don't have to worry about like rolling on him or anything like that. Me and my husband are very light sleepers, so that's why co-sleeping works for us. But I definitely don't sleep as well and as deep when he is in the bed with us, just because I have that high alert on that he is in the bed. So yeah, it's been going really great. I don't feel like he's been like super fussy or anything like that, but I will kind of go into something about fussiness and diet wise. So as you know, I eat a lot of meat, I eat a lot of dairy, cheese, things of that sort, anything from the animal kingdom. And I was doing really good, but I noticed that when I went really hard on the cheese and on the dairy, that Isaiah didn't seem to do as well. I noticed that he seemed to get really gassy the more dairy that I had, and he seemed to almost act constipated. Now, his stool was still very soft, so he wasn't actually constipated, but it seemed like he was straining a bunch to go. And so that was really concerning. I mean, he would cry a bunch, like on the days that I would have a lot of dairy, a lot of cheese curds, a lot of, like milk or things of that sort. And it just was very concerning to me. So I decided to cut dairy out, and he was fine after I cut dairy out. So then I was like, okay, well maybe it was just milk, and maybe I can still eat like cheese, certain kinds of cheeses or things like that. So I tried some cheese curds, and the same symptoms came back. So for this point in time, I am trying to avoid dairy for the sake of Isaiah. I know babies are sensitive to certain proteins and things in cow's milk, and so I just don't want to make him uncomfortable. Like, I seriously love cheese so much, and like when you're breastfeeding, it's such a great snack to just grab out of the fridge when you're in a hungry moment or in a hungry phase and you don't have time to like sit and cook meat. But for the time being, I'm going to try and avoid it, just because I have found for it to be problematic for Isaiah's digestion. And so that's definitely something that I'm kind of sad about, but I will be fine as long as I just keep filling up on meat. I will want to do in the future a video of what I eat in a day and how much I eat in a day, and maybe do what I eat in a week, just to give you guys a general idea of how much I'm eating and what exactly I'm putting on my plate to fuel my body and to fuel my body to produce breast milk, as I am exclusively breastfeeding. But other than that, I mean, if your baby's doing fine with a lot of dairy and stuff, like, go for it. Like, that's an awesome snack. I'm just kind of sad that, it's not really working out for us, but he's doing great with the meat. I've been having pork, chicken, beef, seafood, all the good things like that. So definitely not deprived over here. Just have to be a little bit more conscientious of how I'm preparing and prepping my meals so that I have something on hand when I do get hungry. So how have I been feeling postpartum? So I remember at the hospital, because we were there for about 24 hours, I definitely felt more sore after this labor and delivery. I literally felt like an old lady that I couldn't get out of bed. I don't know if it's the way that Isaiah came down through the birth canal, because I know he was slightly turned, but I just felt really sore and beat up down there, and it was really hard to walk the first few days, just because I felt like if I spread my legs too far apart, it was like a sharp, like really painful, like, oh, don't do that. And so I was like shuffling around the hospital room, and I was just joking with my husband that this is how I'm gonna look when I'm 90 years old, being all sore and just having a hard time getting around. So that definitely resolved itself after a few days. Getting back home, I think, really helped, and it was nice that we were able to discharge out of the hospital early, because it's just easier to recover at home, I feel like, sometimes, because you're in your own space. I do take that back a little bit though, because when you're at your own house, you feel like you need to get up and do things and help the kids and stuff like that, and when you're in the hospital, everybody does things for you. So maybe that's, the different side to what I'm saying. But it was nice to just be in my own space and to be able to relax without having, people coming in and checking and, doing all those things that they do in the hospital. And so I do feel like from this pregnancy, I keep saying pregnancy, from this postpartum journey after giving birth to Isaiah, that there have definitely been some differences in the way that I've been recovering. So, you okay, honey? So with my first two babies, I didn't feel like I bled postpartum that much. Maybe a couple weeks afterwards, and it seemed like my uterus healed up. But I did feel like the contractions this time, like when you're breastfeeding, for the first few days up to a week after you have your baby, you can feel your uterus like really contracting, and it's kind of painful every time the baby like nurses. I definitely felt that more intensely this time, and I don't know if it's just because it's been the third time that I've had a child and the third time that my body has had to stretch out like that, so it just takes a little bit more effort and takes a little bit more time for it to get back to normal. But I definitely noticed stronger contractions, and I definitely have had a longer period of bleeding. With my first two babies, the bleeding stopped at about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks with my second one, and this one lasted till about 6 weeks. I'm now officially done with postpartum bleeding, but I couldn't believe how long it lasted, and it definitely got a little annoying having to wear a pad all the time, because no one likes to do that. It's just uncomfortable, and I was really surprised that it was just taking that long. So that's something that I noticed, but it was comforting to know that I've been eating so much meat and having such a protein, iron-packed diet, just because knowing even if I am bleeding that long, I'm still putting iron and those nutrients and minerals that I need in my body in order to recover. I noticed that I have a few more stretch marks with this third baby. I wasn't really doing anything to try and prevent them. I wasn't like oiling up my belly or doing anything like that, or wearing like a belly guard that some people do. But that's okay. That's just marks that I have borne life and that I've carried life, and it's a beautiful thing to me. Another topic that I will talk about is constipation postpartum. With my first two pregnancies, I definitely had like some really hard postpartum poops. It was really hard the first few times. I remember with Zane, it felt just as bad as giving labor. And then with my second child, Madison, it wasn't as bad, but it was still like you'd have those like prickly poops. I know, sorry guys, I'm using that word, but you've been on my channel long enough. You know that I talk about everything and I'm not shy to talk about it. But with this one, I passed a stool right away, and it was totally fine. It wasn't painful or anything like that. And then a few days after being home, I hadn't been drinking very much water. I, for some reason, just got busy and wasn't drinking enough water, and I had to take a poop, and I could not get it out, you guys. It's like the first time in my life that I have been like extremely constipated. I was straining so hard to go, and oh my gosh, I had to go so bad, but it just wouldn't come out. It was so frustrating. And so the only thing that helped it come out, I literally had to go get a glass of water, chug the glass of water, then I sat down on the toilet, and it finally came out. And it happened to me again on another week when I wasn't drinking very much water, and I had to do the same thing, drink water, and then a few minutes later I was able to pass the stool. And so I found that as long as I am drinking at least a gallon of water a day, I don't have any constipation problems. But other than that, I mean, even talking right now, I could go guzzle some water because like my mouth is dry, like I'm always thirsty. And so I just have to remind myself to keep on drinking, because that way I know I won't have any issues with constipation. And as of right now, I haven't had any issues for a couple of weeks now with constipation. I think with exercising, because I am in my second week of exercising now, it definitely helps, gets everything running and moving back to normal. But that is something that I did want to mention, that if you are having issues with constipation, just drink more water. Water is your best friend, so do that. So one of the last things that I want to talk about is hair loss. Usually I don't tend to have hair loss until about 3 months postpartum, and I'm just shy of about 2 months postpartum right now. But I will say that I feel like my hair has never been stronger. I feel like my nails have never been stronger. Skin has been amazing. I have not had any acne. My face is really clearing up. It's been super smooth, and that's just really encouraging to see. And so that is something that I will definitely keep you guys updated on if whether or not I do have 3-month postpartum hair loss. I know that's really common for a lot of women to have it. I've had it really bad with my first two, and with this one I'm hoping that I don't get it at all. If you would have seen one of my past videos where I talked about having hair loss during this pregnancy, it was when I was having my calories drop too low. Once I upped my calories again, I totally didn't have any issues with any more hair loss. And so that is something that I just feel like as long as I keep on fueling my body correctly, that hopefully I won't have to deal with that again. But that's pretty much all that I had for you guys today. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below if there's anything that I didn't touch on that maybe you're curious about. And I just really appreciate you being here. In the future, I hope to put up some videos of what I've been eating in a day, like I've said, and just show you how much I'm eating in a day as I am exclusively breastfeeding, and maybe show you guys some recipes that I've been trying and that I've been feeding my family that have really been a hit in our household. But in total, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If this is something that you are interested in, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below so that you never miss any of my content. And I just really hope that you all have a wonderful and blessed day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.